Hello, neighbor. This is Novels and Bits podcast, and I am your favorite host, Chizoba Katie. How are we doing? This is the first episode in the month of May, and coincidentally, it's coming out on the 1st of May. Happy New Month. How are you doing? This is the month I end my internship. I'm doing a countdown series. I am excited about it and so grateful. You get. Now, today we're back with a new story, and today's story is Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I've been obsessed with that writer for a while, especially since most of our heroines are women in STEM, that is science, technology, engineering, math. And I love how her stories they have a sort of emotion where it's not like it's that deep, but at the same time it's relatable and it's raw, and I just like her stories. I like how they come across, and I love the love stories. Even after the story, I think we'll have one more Ali Hazelwood, and Deep End. That's one of the stories she released recently that has a whole lot of mixed reviews, and then would continue with all the stories. So today is Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Is fantasy, modern fantasy, really like fantasy set in our present day world. It has like over nearly 400,000 reviews on Goodreads. So a lot of people have read it. And some people are like, oh yeah, it's nice, but they prefer fantasy set in ancient times, like the ones we did when we did from Blood and Ash. Now this is modern. And I'm just going to start it. And since it's modern, there's not a whole lot of world building to explain. It's really quite straight and simple. So I'm just going to tell you the story instead of the breaking down I've been breaking down for the past 2 minutes. Let's go. This is Misery Lark's wedding day. Yep. Our female lead, her name is Misery. And I just had the ability to go we're going to meet who calls her Miracy. So this is Misery's wedding day. She's a vampire about to be wed to an alpha of the Wers. They call them Wers, essentially the werewolves. Okay. It's something that's been agreed on for the sake of peace. She's not particularly loved by her own people or even her family. Only her twin brother Owen seems to care that she's working into a suicide mission. He's asking her, can you delay the wedding by 6 weeks? And today she's like, what will happen in 6 weeks? She doesn't get an answer because their father appears and takes her hand as if they've always had physical contact. But the truth is, they've not had any physical contact in a decade. He now tells her to behave and don't forget that your future husband is dangerous. The first look she actually gets from her future husband, by the way, is a staring down at her as though she's prey. There's a part where she stumbles and he catches her, and then he now murmurs, "You, how do you smell that way?" This is her future husband talking. At around the same time, she's also thinking, he's good blood, because as a vampire, she can smell when someone's blood is like, it's gonna be good. So less than 10 minutes later, they exchange rings and swear a lifetime commitment. Now, 6 weeks before the ceremony happened, the alpha actually was supposed to marry another vampire, but the vampire he was supposed to marry pulled out, and then they now found a replacement. Misery. The alpha did not even bother opening the file of the replacement to see who is she, what is she about. As far as it's concerned, all the vampires are the same. Let me just do this thing for the sake of peace. Now, Misery, that 6 weeks before the ceremony, before they told her that she's gonna be marrying this person, she's living her normal life. Misery is existing in the human world somewhere as Missy. That's the name she goes by there. And she's brilliant. She's a Texas. So she's good at the whole computer, internet stuff. She's in the office. She mostly works remotely, but she's in the office on that rare day. And anytime she comes into the office, she comes in the evenings when the sun is down because she's here to test the security firewall. However, Vania, the head of her father's security, her father is a consumer of the vampires. Her father's head of security, Vania, a woman, comes there to tell Misery that she's been summoned. It's been a decade and counting since Misery has been away from the vampire world. Vanya also frightens the humans that are there, and once they see that, oh my god, fangs, purple eye, she's a vampire, they start trampling over each other to get away from her. Now, the headquarters of the vampires is somewhere called the Nest. Nest is an ultra-modern skyrise that contains offices, shops, medical clinics, blood for the vampires, and at the very top of the nest is the accommodation of those who can afford to buy it, which is mainly Misery's family. The vampire system of ruling comes from each powerful family holding a councilman position, and that position is often inherited by their children. Misery is in her father's office, and it has two floor to ceiling windows where sunlight streams in. It is true that vampires can't be out in the sunlight. And here's the thing, what you can't have only makes you crave it more. So, the sign of a rich vampire is they can afford windows, not just any windows, unique ones that's been designed to filter out whatever it is about the sunlight that might harm a vampire. It has been 7 years since Misery last saw her father. The vampire's territory is the north, the west territory is the south, while the humans mostly exist in the southwest. I don't know what is in the east. Now, Misery looks very much human right now when Vania found her and told her father summoned her and she's in her dad's office because she's wearing brown contacts and she often shaves her fangs. Her people don't like Misery because they're like, we don't even know you. You've been among humans for too long. You smell like a human. Ew, you know? Now, it started with the whole collateral exchange program. A family member of those in government will be sent to the humans and another to the vampires in a cross exchange. This will get clearer the more we go into the story. I'll explain that better. Now, the thing is, this child, a human child will live among vampires, while a vampire child will live among humans. That exchange program is supposed to happen for 10 years before they get another human child, another vampire child, and on and on. You get. Now, it's supposed to broker peace and ensure an alliance between the vampire and the human race. But the sad thing is that the children who often end up in this collateral exchange program are at risk. Because if at any time the peace is up, the heads of those children will be the first to go. Anyway, there's a new governor that's been voted into power, Madi Garcia. She wants to end the exchange program. And she's also been demonstrating warmth towards the Wers. Now, the Wers are a superior race to the vampires in every way. This is not the kind of vampires that are like, they're still super fast. They still drink blood, but they're not the kind of vampires that live for long, like centuries and centuries. No, these vampires do not live that way. Essentially, they live a human lifetime expand. So there is no advantage really of being a vampire in this world building. Maybe like you would see and just be like, oof, who wants to be that inferior race of vampires? Nah, no. You get. It used to be that the Wers don't used to send anybody. It's why the vampires were like, okay, because the Wers are stronger than us. They're better than us in every way. Let's band up with the humans. Since the Wers don't want to band up with them, let's band up with them. Because look at it here. Why humans might not be super strong or super fast or anything. When it comes to numbers, humans have more numbers than the vampires race, than the Wers race, and there is some power in numbers, okay? The vampires still, they're a dying race. So because this new governor now that they elected wants to end that brokering of peace, that alliance that humans and vampires have, the vampires are now forced to look towards the West. Like, can we have any sort of alliance with the West? Now, their morale was boosted by a particular incident. It's happened before now that four drunk vampires had a dare. Four young drunk vampire males. They were drunk and they said, okay, let us dare ourselves. Let's swim across the river and touch the bank, the river bank of the West and come back. Normally, if they had done this thing before, they would have been sent back in pieces. That's why they'll pieces their body and send it back to the vampires. In fact, for days, these vampires males, they were assumed dead. And it's their fault because why would you be playing that silly game with people you're not on good terms with? But these four young vampires happen to be connected to a councilman. That's one of those in the vampire leadership. And this councilman, he wanted to retaliate as far. They killed my son and his friends. And retaliating will set off a war. And if a war happens between the vampires and the Wers would beat the vampires hands down, okay? And it's also break the rule of put the common good first, not that of one, something like that. Misery's father is always saying that. Councilman Lark is always saying that whole for the good of the all, not the one. That's what vampires are always seeking. The young men were returned intact after 2 days. By them being returned, it now showed, oh, a new alpha is in power, not the other person. Now, the former alpha was rescued. He was challenged and he's dead now. So there's another in his place. That is Lowe. Hence the consideration of the marriage alliance. Marriage alliances have happened in the past, but the last marriage alliance was 200 years ago, and that ended in the Aster. The Aster is essentially a flower of mostly purple and green. That would actually be the cover of this episode. It represents purple, means the blood of the vampires. The vampire bloods are purple, while the blood, the werewolves, their blood is green. You get. Now, 200 years ago, a were bride and vampire husband were married for 15 years until she died. Now, the bride was a werewolf, the vampire was the husband. Okay, there was meant to be another wedding as per, okay, this wedding has ended because one person died. Okay, let's have another alliance wedding between our two races. But that was a bloodbath because the West were like, you people killed our sister. You killed the werewolf after 15 years. It was an ambush, really. Wedding that turned out to be an ambush. The Wares, more in strength and numbers, spilled so much purple blood, and just a few green fell. Just a few green, that is, werewolves fell. So that hence the Aster. That's what the vampires called that event from 200 years ago. Now, Misery is not interested in the whole anything her father is calling her for, in the whole brokering peace between races. She's not interested. And that now informs her that, okay, if you do this, you'll be more accepted by your race. That is, the vampires that don't like you, they'll like you. She doesn't care. Because what did she gain in the past when she tried to help the vampire race? Wasn't she part of the collateral program? Didn't she risk her life by being among the humans for 10 years? From when she was 10 to when she was 20, she lived among humans. Do you understand? And when she came back to the vampire people, instead of being like praised, oh my God, you risked your life, you went to live among humans, you could have been killed anytime. No, her contemporaries bullied her. Even before she left, she's not telling her dad what happened. The other children knew that I'd be the one sent to the humans. And they started calling me fangless traitor as soon as they could form full sentences. Or have you forgotten when I was 7 and the sons and daughters of your fellow councilman stole my clothes and pushed me out in the sun right before midday? Now, the sun can really, can be really harsh on them. And if they stay there too long, it can actually kill them, you get. And those same people spat on me and mocked me when I was returned from 10 years 7 as a collateral. So I'm not. She sails slowly. She reminds herself that she's fine. She's untouchable. She's 25. She has her fake human IDs, her apartment, her job, her whole life. But then her dad now promises, that is councilman Lark now promises, we'll set you up for life after this financially. And he's also treating this as an exchange program, not even as her marrying somebody. It's like she's going to be with the West for a while. Why the West are going to send one of their own to the vampires for a while. So Misery straight up rejects this offer. Like, no, I don't want the financial coziness, whatever it is. I don't want it. Her father now unintentionally slips out her name, Lowe Moreland. That's the name of the alpha she is to be married to. Lowe Moreland, like Lowe. Then Moreland is his surname. She now starts getting ready to be married once she hears the name of this man. We'll see why. Also, vampires are hardly monogamous because of reproduction. Remember, their dying race are the smallest in numbers, and they're not people that easily, carry belly and stuff like that. They're not encouraged to be monogamous as far as have one partner. Basically, screw around so that in case anyone jam, as for in case any one of your race people get you pregnant, at least you can reproduce. And the vampire race will continue to live on. So there are not so many children in the vampire race. Now, the reception of the wedding day, we're back to the present day. We started this whole novel on the wedding day and then we went back in time to see the events that led to that. Now we're back on the wedding day. Initially, Misery is with the outgoing governor, okay? Like, that is not outgoing as per he is, cheaper, and even though his personality seems that way, but the outgoing governor as per the governor that has been in power for the past 8 years, and now they've voted a new person, so he's gonna be leaving office soon. And honestly, he seems like a total ass. He's like, oh, your name, who gave you your name? Misery. Her name was bestowed on her by the council. That's how vampire children's names are given. The council decides what name you're going to be called. And she thinks her name is fitting. Her name Misery is fitting because she killed her mother. I'm pretty sure it's not true that she killed her mother. But Ali Hazelwood's heroines, Ali Hazelwood is the author of this book. Her heroines are terrific at laying condemnation on themselves so thick. That's, a pattern I'm noticing in her work. Now, Misery learns that the word they're sending to the vampires is actually Lowe's mate. And mate is an important thing to the West. So the governments of the both sides have to send a child that's important. It's not just any random child that can be divested and they won't care. Okay? So now this arrangement is to be for 1 year. During that wedding, from a standpoint where she is, Misery overhears Lowe with his best man and an older man. Both of them are talking. And she now hears something about impossible, you must have perceived wrong. But the whole conversation is cut off when two children, a vampire and a were child, they're bawling, they're crying over a broken toy. Now tension thickens as per they're not like waiting. But how would the vampires react? How would the ways react? Also, this scuffle happening between their children. But then Lowe approaches his children. He kneels before them, fixes the toy, and hands back to the vampire child. Hands the toy back to the vampire child, hiding behind his hostile parents. The child beams. Now the weird child is forced to apologize for breaking the toy. And then Lowe now carries the weird child out there under his arm. And then, the whole ruffling his hair, and the child is laughing and tension dissipated. Now, aware she's standing close as per she's been standing out of sight, but within enough reach to be watching him. Aware of that, Lowe now says, "Yeah, you can come out." He invites her to join him. And she now takes her time to step down and they do a slow dance. She's wearing a jumpsuit, a white jumpsuit for her wedding. And she's thinking to herself, his blood really smells nice and his heartbeat is strong and attractive. She doesn't think it's a weird thing. Like, she doesn't think that it's all wears that, have this blood smelling nice thing and the heartbeat, it's feeling attractive. Now, during their dance, he lists her history, including that there's been several assassination attempts on her life by anti-vampire extremists. Two came close, and she does have scars on her body to prove it. As per he did research about this woman he's going to be marrying, contrary to what she was thinking, that he has no idea about anything about her. As for why she's doing this, because he wants to know, why did you agree to this, okay? She now says, I'm a grown woman, I make my own choices. He does point out, well, you belong nowhere, which is true. She doesn't really belong among the humans because she is a vampire, and her vampire community have cast her out, like treat her as an outcast for having lived among the humans for so long. In fact, he even asked her, does your father hate you? He needs to know to provide protection for her because she's his wife after all. What Misery does not say is she does have a reason why she agreed to this marriage, and that's to find her friend Serena, who's missing. But she doesn't tell Lowe this. Now, on the dance floor, when Lowe and Misery are dancing, a human waiter attacks Misery to kill her. But it's Lowe whose hand closes around the blade, saving her and spilling his green blood. When the human waiter is taken away, Lowe now tells her, for the next year, let's stay out of each other's way. Understood. He walks away. Lowe is an architect by training. This is the modern world. So these people, as much as their race is vampire, humans are this, they go to school, they get degrees, they work normal jobs, okay? Misery is sleeping in the middle of the day. She's at Lowe's house now. Because it's what vampires do. They are hibernating in the middle of the day because of the sun. They can't walk well with it. It's at night that they're like, their eyes are open, okay? But daylight, from around, let's say 10, sunrise, like sun fully rising, to like 4, 5 in the evening, they're sleeping. Just like your night is their day and their day is your night. She's there sleeping, napping, but the voice of a child interrupts her. Misery is actually in the closet because that's where it feels the most comfortable, in the closet. And also being in way territory, she's being security conscious by being in the closet. That's why if anybody is walking through the door to enter the room, she's from the closet, she will hear them before they get to her. Do you understand? But this child that joins Misery in her room, this child is Anna, who is Lowe's orphaned baby sister. And this room used to be her room, this room that Misery is staying in. And Anna has a spare key to it, hence that's why she's bothering Misery at a time where Misery is useless and completely devoid of strength. Thankfully, a fit red-haired woman called Juno comes and takes Anna away, while warning Misery not to try to get to know anyone. It's for both Misery's safety and for the pack's safety. Now, Misery brought along Serena's cat that comes out only after Juno leaves. Okay, now let's explain who Serena is. Misery has had a 15-year-long friendship with Serena. Serena is an investigative journalist. Now, they met when they were 10 years old because of the exchange program. Serena was a child assigned to be with Misery, and Serena is an orphan who later became Misery's companion. After the exchange program ended and they graduated from uni, Serena is like, yeah, well, we've lived together too long. I want my own space. So Serena got a house and Misery lives by her own, so they live separately. Now, vampires don't keep pets, but Serena has always wanted a pet. And just 3 days before Serena disappeared, she got a cat. What cued Misery in is Serena not showing up for laundry day because that's why they live separately right now. They have days where they get together for one thing or another. So when it's laundry day, like days they'll wash together, Serena didn't show up. And she was unreachable over calls and tests. Having lost her spare keys to Serena's apartment, Misery picked the lock. Like, let's just do this. It's how she found the cat, fed the cat, and adopted it sort of, while still tracking down her friend. The police were so unbothered when Misery reported the case. They think that Serena ran off with a man after the girls had a fight. Because really, Misery and Serena just had a big fight and then her friend disappeared. So that's making Misery feel all the more terrible. So that's when Misery took it upon herself to find any digital imprint anywhere, but nothing showed up. Just poof, as if her friend disappeared into thin air. Until she saw the paper the cat was playing with. It's cryptic, but not hard to crack, as it has to do with a system of communication Misery used with Serena from when they were little. And this paper thing, this message on this paper was entered on the day Serena went missing. On that paper, what's written there is L.E. Moreland. So that L that reminds her of like Lowe Moreland. So that means whoever Lowe is, he must have a hand in Serena's disappearance. Because if not, why did Serena scrabble his name before disappearing, okay? So that's why Misery agreed to the marriage. Now, aware Alex drives Misery to the home she's going to be living in when she first got here. It's a home built on a lake and it's surrounded by trees on three sides, then clear of water on the foot. Alex is handsome. He's cute and adorable. In that tie his shoelaces, blow on his knee injury kind of way. It's the most beautiful home Misery has ever lived in. This house built on a lake. Neither humans nor vampires exist in Were territory, especially not this spot. It's supposed to be safe for the Wers to come in and out of the Alpha's home. The Alpha who has 12 seconds, but one of them, Gabriel, is with the vampires, one of his seconds. The one Misery suspects to be his mate. So while Misery might be the wife, Lowe's mate is actually with the vampires. And we know, if anybody knows a good werewolf story, you know how much mates mean to werewolves. Now, about their transforming into wolves, Alice uses a term, we call it shifting, we don't say transform. We don't become something else, we just kind of toggle between two settings. And when he said toggle, she looked at him like, oh, you are a tech bro, because that's a coding term. Only powerful words can shift at will, whenever, and resist the law of a full moon. Low is the most powerful word that Alex and even his grandpa has ever seen. It was alpha material from day one, which was why Roscoe, the former alpha, the one that is dead, sent him away until Low returned and challenged him. Now, it's a weird traditional thing. This challenging thing is how they switch powers from one person to the next. Misery doesn't get it. It's still a shock to her that entire rooms are devoted to food preparation. Like, that is kitchens are a thing in people's home. Because she feeds on blood bags once a day. When Misery expresses surprise that Lo would allow her to live where he lives, Alex is like, having you live with him is about protection, making a commitment, sending a message. They know you're not his true wife or his mate or anything. So nobody is really, they just know it's about protection and making a statement, okay? After finding a clue, L.E. Moreland, Misery went down a rabbit hole. This is still her when she was trying to get to this point and trying to find her friend, the thing she knows so far. She went down a rabbit hole of breaking through firewalls, intending to find something, anything on it. What she did find were irrelevant until she broke through some government wall and saw something on Garcia and Moreland. She just knew she was on the right track because the meeting was supposed to hold at around the time Serena went missing. But then, no matter how much Misery pushed, on the Moreland thing more. It didn't matter how much she pursued it more. His footprints were well covered, his digital footprints. Whoever worked for him, that's what Misery told herself. Whoever is working for Moreland is as good as her, and she is good, okay? Because that security firewall that took a guy how many weeks to build, how many months, she knocked it down in minutes. That time she was at the office. Now, the good thing about being on ground here is that if she can access one computer, If Misery can just access one computer, she can find Serena if Serena is really here. A thought now also occurs to Misery. And then what? Because if I find Serena, and then what? Anyhow, whatever plan she's making in her head is cut up because a young were, like a young werewolf Max, is standing in front of her. Remember, she's in Lowe's home. How whatever plans Misery is making about finding Serena, what's gonna happen next, is all cut off because a young were is standing in front of her while she's here in Lowe's house. He states a fact, you're beautiful, that he didn't expect vampires to be. He thinks that that's either why Lowe married her, or maybe he hates you because it forced him to remember. Remember what your people have taken from him. It's almost as much as they've taken from me. And yet, he's making alliances with them, like a common traitor. He married you and said they are not to be harmed. The way Max is talking, like somebody that is half drunk. Now, he is standing her exit, and that makes her uncomfortable. He begins stating how his parents are gone, his elder sister too, because of vampires. She feels compassion and almost misses when his body collides with her with vicious energy. But she's well trained with all the assassination attempts. She had to get training so that she can defend herself. So she winds up pinning him up against the wall, bears her fangs at him, and he whimpers. Next thing she knows though, Lowe's strong hand carries her and pins her against another wall. It's tight, but it doesn't hurt. Other wares are present, and they look at her like she just committed a heinous crime, and they will gladly punish her. Lowe now takes her to his office so she can explain herself. She now tells him plainly what happened, but the redhead Juno insists she's lying. The redhead that came to carry that small girl, Anna, that told her, don't try to get close to anybody, that kind of thing. Now insists that Misery is lying, that it's had attack Max first because she wanted to feed on him since she couldn't help herself. She's not ghost. That's not how feeding works. Let's just acknowledge that we know nothing about each other's species. Lowe dismisses Juno and is standing too close for comfort to Misery. He wants her to behave. The conversation somehow shifts to intimate relations, and in her private thoughts, it reveals she's actually a virgin, because when would she have had a chance to screw anybody? She's not accepted in any world, so how would she have done it, okay? The birth control she was shot with, it's not like anything would happen, but it's just perfunctory that they shot her with a birth control before she came here. Even if it did, no reproduction can happen between the two races, right? Right? Eventually, he excuses her, but when she turns back to ask a question, she notices his eyes shut, and he looks in agony as he's inhaling the air. She's feeling guilty, because remember he's complained about her scent before on their wedding day. She now tells him, I took a bath. Did that not help the scent? For him, it didn't. Yikes. She tells him about her cat and asks if my cat can move around the house. She asks for permission, and he grants the permission. Misery regrets her action against Max because her security detail has been upped. They're always on her tail, so there's no freedom to snoop around. Although when she initially came, she snuck in a phone and laptop. They disabled her Wi-Fi, took the disk out of her devices. She has weekly calls with Vanya, father's guard, who just ensures she's still alive. She should be bored out of her mind, but she's honestly used to cadence like this since she was a collateral among the humans. She made enough money to exist, I guess. She's used to not having anything to do for a while because it's not the first time they've used her as a collateral like this. So she's just like existing. She's used to existing. And she just makes enough money in her job to exist, even though her skills are such that she could be a billionaire if she wanted to. But I guess not really higher drive, really. That's Misery for you. She's just there. You get. And honestly, people who are just there are not the most sexy. It's like, leave for something, girl. Move. But she's been living for the vampires. And what does she get in return? Hate. So you can't really be on her neck too much. On one of those days, one of those bored days or so, her twin brother Owen calls on video call that's heavily supervised. For people who haven't been close since childhood, somehow they understand each other. Maybe it's a twin thing. Their mom died at birth. She wants to ask her brother something. She now crafts a story. She now says, remember how dad used to take us out to see the sunset? And he would say, then she would switch the tongue. The tongue is something that is more or less a local dialect of the vampires, like a special a language of the vampires, right? That other people can't hear unless you're a vampire. She now said, that thing I lost, has it been found? Their father never took them out to see any sunset or something. But her brother would just be following the flow as, yeah, remember. And he'll say this, I'm like, yes. And he'll now ask, she'll now use the tongue again. So now past the actual thing she wants to say and switch back to the story. Now, Owen would smile fondly like he knows and say, yeah. And her dad would say, He will now answer in the tongue to say she's not back in her apartment, but I'm keeping an eye out. It's a very coded way of asking about Serena and if Owen has actually made any contact with the way collateral. Now, on the fifth night of Misery being here, in the layer of the words, Misery is drawing a flexible coding script. She loses track of time. All she needs right now is to grab someone's phone, take out their Wi-Fi pad. Now, Anna comes to pay a visit. That's Lowe's younger sister. She climbed in through the roof. That's what she tells Misery. She says she's 7, but then she's holding up 6 fingers. Misery is proud of herself. Why is she proud of herself? She's like, when she initially saw Anna, she's like, this child should be any age between 3 and 13. I've not been around children much. So when Anna said, I'm 7 and holds up 6 fingers, she's like, yeah, I'm sort of right. I estimated she should be around 3 and 13. Girl, how is that any right estimation? Anna wants to play. So using JavaScript, Misery just creates a snake game for her to play. There's a text text, y'all. Now, it's also better than the adult game that Anna used to play with Alex, the tech guy that works for Lowe. Now, through Anna, Misery learns Lowe doesn't sleep at all. But then, what Anna calls it is pneumonia. And she says that Lowe has pneumonia. That's what Anna says. And Misery for a while actually thinks it's pneumonia. I don't know how she did not translate that as insomnia. Because even me, when I read the part, I was like, oh, okay, he has insomnia. Must be because she really hasn't been around children. So she didn't get the child babbling. Apparently also, Lowe is out dealing with the lollipops. She's ready to say loyals. This is Anna's reported. He has pneumonia and he's out dealing with the lollipops. But it's actually loyals, a certain group of words that are rebelling against Lowe's leadership. Anna is sleepy and she has to return to her cat Sparkles. That's what she tells Misery. Misery's like, hold on, do you have a cat, Sparkles? Does it happen to be grey? And this and that. I said, yeah, that's my cat, Sparkles. And I said, that's not Sparkles, that's my cat. I brought it here. And I said, no, it's my cat. He sleeps with me every night. Okay, that's Serena's cat that has abandoned Misery. Her and the cat never actually got along. Because remember, vampires don't really keep pets. And that cat has betrayed Misery and has made her home with Anna. So agile, Anna climbs out the way she came. Misery is anxious the whole time, like, how are you climbing that roof? Are you not gonna fall? It's high up. She's like, yo, is this what having a child feels like? I'm gonna be this concerned? Nah. Anyway, we Lowe out because Anna has given her the memo. Time to pick locks. To pick locks and go into Lowe's room to see if she can get any info about if Serena is locking around. So this is where we're going to stop today. I think this has been a fun intro to Bride, and I do hope you join the next episode. See ya!